Today on Law Weekly, we'll look at the moves to criminalize hate speech and the legality of the military monitoring social media accounts with a view to identifying peddlers of fake news and anti-government activities. We have the opinion of a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Moyo Onigbanjo. We also have the views of some lawyers on the shortcomings of the legal system and what can be improved upon in the new legal year, plus our recap of the top trending stories from the courts. That's the lineup on this episode of Law Weekly. Hello and welcome. I am Shola Shoyeli. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo recently declared that the federal government would criminalize hate speeches and also declare it an act of terrorism. The move, according to the then acting president, was to put the rising cases of hate speeches across the country in check. Lawyers have expressed diverse views on this issue. Some say that the country has enough laws on sedition and the likes, and there's no need for new laws. Others disagree. But is the move really necessary? This was the first question I put to my guest.
I think with respect to the Vice President, it's going to be a very difficult task for him to be able to carry out, chiefly because Section 39 of the Constitution says that there will be freedom of expression. The Constitution is the ground norm. Any other law inconsistent with it can be declared upon being challenged null and void and of no effect. So if you have at the apex a law, the Constitution, that says there's freedom of expression, it doesn't limit that expression. So under that Section 39, it is perfectly legal for me to say certain things which are not morally acceptable in a decent society. Is it criminal? It is not. Now, how do you criminalize it without amending that section of the Constitution? That is why I said, and I think, that it will be quite a task for him to do to achieve his objective. I do not see it as a criminal act. Everybody has a right to state their opinion, to express their opinion. Whether that opinion accords with morality or decency is another thing. But is it in breach of any law? Certainly not. So if somebody by his speech incites violence, then you charge him under relevant criminal law provisions.
Such as?
Well, under the criminal law, I believe that there would be provisions to charge somebody whose conduct, whose speech led to people being killed. It is part of the mens rea, which you need to prove in court, that this man asked people to do certain things, and because of his speech, it led to certain breaches of the law. So if, for example, the law says that, you know, that there's a law that criminalizes if you take somebody's life, for example. So, and I make a speech that indirectly urges people to go and kill, then you charge me for murder, accessory to murder, or whatever you want to, no matter whatever way you want to frame the charge. You charge me under that law. Then it is left for the court, if I raise the defense of free speech, whether the court will accept that my conduct and my speech under Section 39, which entitles me to free speech, is such that can absolve me from the murder charges.
So are you saying that hate speeches are unknown to Nigerian laws?
They certainly are. The law does not recognize anything as that. But if a speech leads to a breach of a particular provision of the criminal law, then you charge that person under that provision. Because for you to be able to charge that person, that speech must have led to people actually carrying out a criminal act. So where somebody just goes on TV and vents that I don't like or dislike a particular tribe, and it ends there, I don't really see how that person can be charged. But yes, except the laws are amended. But there is a difference between free speech and incitement to violence, because then you don't have to charge that person for making the speech. You charge him for the act, which was a consequence of the speech, the inciting speech that he made. So there is a thin line there, and I think we need to appreciate it.
Flowing from what you said about hate speeches, it brings me to the Nigerian military, which recently said that they're going to monitor social media to identify peddlers of fake news, anti-government and anti-security activities in the country. Is it illegal for them to do so?
The military, clearly they don't have the right. It is not part of their remit, which is to defend the country from external attack, to wage war on behalf of the country. What part of their law gives them the right to monitor social media? I'm yet to see any provision, and perhaps the military authorities are best suited to let us know under what provisions they want to carry out this duty that they've declared that they want to do.
Let's move on to the recent arguments and counter-arguments by two senior advocates of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana and Mr. Sebastian Horn, on the powers of chief judges to grant pardon or amnesty to offenders. Mr. Horn believes that the CJ lacks the constitutional powers to do so. He cites Section 35, subsection 4 of the Constitution. Mr. Falana disagrees. What do you think? Does the CJ have such powers?